Hi, my name's Lucia Breault-Evans. I'm a senior at Paul Quinn College, and I am recording this on Saturday, March 30th. So, what we learned about for this unit was pressure in politics, and I was asked to answer the following on three separate organizations. So, what is the constituency or interest? Which party or parties typically align? And has the organization been effective since the 2016 election? So, I'm going to cover three separate organizations. The first one I'm going to talk about is Mi Gente, and I'm going to go the most into this because I have the most knowledge outside of my research about Mi Gente. So the constituency that they specifically, or like the interest which the group advocates for, is, in their own words, they are political home for Latinx and Chicanx people who seek racial, economic, gender, and climate justice. And they believe and stand for inclusion of Latinx folks. And they have a couple different campaigns that they run, but they originally were created, born in 2015 after the hashtag Not One More Deportation. And their idea was to mobilize Latinx voters to show up to not vote Trump back into office. The party typically aligns with like Democrat interests, and because currently politically Democrats tend to say a lot more liberal and left wing things, although I would argue that the both Democratic presidents that we've had in office have not paid attention to the migrant experience and have caused or have not slowed down deportation. Like, we still got folks out in cages and stuff, and that hasn't changed, even though Biden is in presidency and he's Democrat. So I would argue that the parties typically align. The Democrat Party is usually more leaning, but in our local offices, the folks that are with me, they are Democrat. But I would argue that action-wise, especially federally, nationally, they're not completely aligned. And how effective has the organization been since the 2016 elections? So, for one, clearly they're doing pretty good because the Trump wasn't elected in 2020. And I found their like financial statements posted because they are a nonprofit. Where in 2016 they had zero revenue and zero contributions, so they had 35,000, I think, is their total assets. In 2018 June, when that was posted, they had almost $800,000 in revenue from contributions. So I think they're hanging out. I think they're hanging in there. The second organization that I was going to talk about was called the Palestine Liberation Front. So I cannot argue that this is a political organization that is current, because they're not new, but it hasn't been super like broadcasted. They're a subset of the PLO, which is the Palestine Liberation Organization, and they're committed to establishing an independent Palestinian state in resistance to Israel. So this is an advocacy group for folks in Palestine for the U.S. to stop sending aid to Israel and to aid Palestinian folks because we're currently in the midst of a genocide. The party that it typically aligns with right now is not, and no one is in support. The Democrat Party has stood pretty firmly behind the fact that they're perfectly okay with killing innocent children and starving 1 million people. So that's kind of cool. And the Republican Party, for once, there's a lot of bipartisan agreement on that. So that's cool. Because we are firmly in the pocket of Israel. We have a lot of money tied up. We've invested a lot of money in their military and tech and stuff. Like, a lot of cybersecurity is coming out of Israel. And I do think that it's important to recognize that a lot of American corporations are in the militarized industrial complex, and so most of them make their money through war. And how effective has the organization been since the 2016 election? Arguably not super effective. I think there are a lot more people that are aware of the Palestinian struggle now since October 7th and it becoming like a whole thing, because it's like becoming a very active genocide, even though it's been ongoing for many, many years now since the land was kind of illegally occupied. So I would argue not entirely effective because there is still a serious, it's still seriously impacting. We're still there. We just got a ceasefire for Ramadan, so that it's not entirely effective. So the last interest group I'm going to talk about is the Black Lives Matter interest group, which is they are advocate for dismantling and defunding police and the police system within the U.S. Typically align with the Democratic Party. Again, I think it's very performative. You talk a lot of game, but there's not very many policies that are actually going into place to protect Black bodies and lives. And I would say that it was very effective. It started out, I think, it wasn't effective. They have been organizing for a really long time. And since after George Floyd, or even before then, I would argue that they started going really pretty hard. And they were able to gain a lot of traction. So I would argue that they've been very effective since the 2016 elections. And were very impactful and changed. They did some good organizing in that aspect, in the general scheme of things. I think, they became really well known, not just nationally, but internationally. So that was really cool to be able to witness that in real time. Woohoo! Black Lives Matter. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you.